Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. It is another random stream. Hope that you all are having a wonderful night. And tonight, before we do get started, I want to. How you doing, Junebug? I want to point out that my thoughts and prayers are with the free citizens of the Ukraine. Russia has fully invaded, and they are attacking the Ukraine, killing people. Regardless of whether Putin has said that they are killing military installations, the truth of the matter is civilians have been killed. I also want to say that my thoughts are with the people of Taiwan. And because I have heard that China has launched military aircraft into Taiwan airspace. And it is seeming that China is testing the defenses and the response time to Taiwan's military, if they have one. And I just want to basically get out there that this may indeed be a prelude to a third world war. Hopefully we can stay out of this, but the fact of the matter is we have a global economy. And if there is a war between any nations that we are allied with, our economy will be affected. I am not an expert on anything that I have said so far, nor will I ever claim to be. But I do want to give my thoughts and prayers to the people of the Ukraine and to the people of Taiwan. And if North Korea, as Deej says, if they try anything, well, hopefully our diaper stain of a political figure in our White House will do something, possibly grow a set of balls. Hello, Junebug.
Hello.
But yes, I do want to say my thoughts and give my thoughts and prayers to the people of the Ukraine.
Yes, definitely.
And to Taiwan, because it seems that Taiwan may also be invaded.
Yeah.
And we all know that China and Russia are allies. So, with that out of the way, hello to the people in the chat, Junebug yourself, Amelia Skywalker, and DH Odyssey. How you guys doing? If you want to come in, the stream for the chat, or the link for the chat, or the stream is in the chat. So I'm going to be talking Tolkien and a few other random things. One thing I do want to talk right now is about Christian Bale. Y'all know him as the American Psycho. You all know him as Bruce Wayne from the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. You all know him as other people that he has done, so many other roles that he has done. But what you also don't realize is that he's an idiot. He thinks that the world will be better off if if all these white people weren't in charge. Well, to point out the stupidity of one Christian Bale, white people aren't in charge of everything, Christian. Dadman Walking 55, hello, how are you? Thank you for stopping in, dude. Any and all support is well appreciated. So yeah, what do you think of that statement that he made, Junebug?
I stopped listening to Christian Bale when he thanked Satan for playing Dick Cheney. So.
Oh Jesus.
So
that just sounds kind of stupid.
Even if it is like, meant to be like dumb smack talk, it just comes off as dumb smack talk, you know?
Yeah, it's
And
absolute ridiculousness that he would say something like that.
yeah, he thanks Satan for playing Dick Cheney.
Well, he is, or well, we all know that Christian Bale is a dumbass, and he's probably on the liberal side of any sort of persuasion. Even though I do not think he is an American citizen, I do believe he is British.
He is I believe he is an American citizen, but he's
As Christian
I think
Bale, and there we go.
I think most of Hollywood is.
Oh, he does hold U.S. citizenship. He has lived in Los Angeles since the 90s. Okay, so yeah, he's an American citizen. Well, whatever. But the thing is, him and all these other idiots out there, people like Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, people like all these other fools in Hollywood who are seeing everything through a racial lens. And people like Christian Bale who say, well, a bunch of white people are in charge. North Korea, it's not a white person's not in charge there. China, not in charge there. In fact, Hollywood doesn't even have a white person in charge. The CEO of Google isn't white. So the people of South America, they don't have white people in charge. I mean, the people of India, they don't have a white person in charge. But you seem to think that it's all white people's fault there, Christian. Yeah. Speaking of stupid, Sean Penn hurried up and flew to Ukraine to film all this going on now. Sean Penn, whatever your reasons for going to Ukraine when there was a possible conflict that was going to arise, I'm just going to say it, you're a fucking retard. And I mean that in the definitive sense of held back and hindered individual. If you don't believe me, look it up in the dictionary. But then again, you might find most dictionaries edited by the censors nowadays. But yes, originally, retard meant a held back and hindered individual or the act of being held back and hindered. So yeah, retarded. But me, I'm a person who actually uses words of their original definitions. Also, I mean, to be completely, not that I will actually use this word because it very much is controversial. The N-word only means an ignorant individual. I'm an N-word when it comes to a lot of things that I am ignorant towards. But I'm not going to say the N-word, so yeah.
Well, Sean Penn, in the words of Red Foreman, he's a dumbass.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely a dumbass.
And I'm sure both of us could tell you some very interesting stories about Sean Penn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Sean Penn stopped being relevant a while ago, in my opinion, anyway. Most actors nowadays are.
What, honestly, when he won his last Academy Award, Mystic River?
Yeah.
Which was
I
2003.
Didn't even see it, so. If you want to join my random stream, and there we go. There, the Guinea Pig Collective. Another group. Paste. I am just doing a ton of sharing the StreamYard link out because, yeah, it's an open invite, open random topics. Also, for those, there's Rosetta. I see her flipping me off in the background.
I was not flipping you off. I was snapping my fingers. Now I'll flip you off.
Well, that won't get me to do it any faster. Although, hold on one second.
And yet it worked. You showed up and let me in as soon as I did it.
Yes, I did. Now, hold on one second. I need to finish sending the link out to everybody. Ugh.
Hurry up, you fucking slacker.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
This is me.
I know. For those of you who are not aware, the next week or two will be very shaky when it comes to content. I do have family that is on death's door. We got my friend Amelia, if she can indeed make it in.
I was going to ask how she's
Wait,
doing.
Sally
I got
who?
the answer.
Sally who? Who's Sally? Sally died? Who died?
Hot lips, he said.
Oh, no. Sally died? No. Hot Lips passed away. Who the hell is Hot Lips?
DJ, would you explain it to him?
Oh, Sally Kellerman. I'm unaware. Oh, so I'm sorry. I don't know everybody. But anyway, as I was saying, my aunt, who Rosetta actually knows, she may pass.
Like this, yeah.
She may pass, or she may get better, but it is a very low possibility. Hey, Deej, how you doing?
I don't have long, but I wanted to explain this. Sally Kellerman, the original Hot Lips hooligan from the movie MASH, also starred against Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, rest in peace to her.
She was also in a very interesting version of Boris and Natasha, which was supposed to be it was a prequel to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Okay.
In the 90s.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Well,
that was very early 90s. That was before I moved to the city.
Okay,
before
Amelia,
fire.
yeah. Yes, Amelia wanted to try to join, but her connection was really slow, so she'll try again later. Gotta go now. Thank you, Dad Man Walking. Have a nice night. But yes, my aunt is, well, death is circling her.
Thoughts and prayers with your aunt.
And there is a strong chance she might not make it. But I am praying for the best case scenario. So if I am doing sparse content, which I have been probably trying to get out one video a day, if at all, it is because I am paying attention to my aunt's condition, and I am trying to do the best I can with preparing for that loss. She is my godmother, so I am hoping that it is best case scenario, but there is a high likelihood she may pass, and I'm not happy about that. Other than that, we do have some Lord of the Rings news to talk about. I did a video about Disparu and the YouTuber Disparu, how he... Oh, we lost Deej.
He said he could only come in briefly.
Oh, yeah, that's right. My condolences. Didn't have one. Okay, it's okay, Deej. But yes, Tolkien is probably going to be spinning in his grave right now. A lot of people are like, just give it a chance. You don't know if it's going to be bad or whatever it is. You only seen the teaser.
No, actually, we do know it's going to be bad because they've already told us they're fucking the lore anally.
Yeah, they have. And it's like, if you pay attention to the things we pay attention to, the marketing as it is for the film or for this project, it is going to be bad if you are a Tolkien lore fan. If you are just a general showgoer, sure, you're going to like it because, it has action and it has CGI and all that other shit. That's not what makes a story a story. If you are going
Also,
to
the
do
CGI looks like
Tolkien,
shit.
if you are going to do Tolkien, you should do it right. Peter Jackson didn't even do it right. However, I will say he did a very skin of your teeth passable job when it came to Lord of the Rings, and less than a passable job with The Hobbit. However, I do find enjoyment in those movies. I actually sat down with my mother to watch those movies over the last few days, and because she's now getting into the fantasy and checking out some fantasy films, and I'm like, well, check out Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I think you might actually like them if you're liking fantasy. She thought they were pretty good.
As much as I have problems with some of the stuff with The Hobbit, and I have problems with adding characters and things that didn't quite match up stuff, overall, they at least were trying to stay with the style and the feel of the series, and they were going to have to add a lot more to all the sections anyways, because the writing style was very different than Lord of the Rings, and both stories were supposed to be the same kind of long episodic tale of this huge journey. One was compacted into one short book, where very quick, very off the cuff, bam, 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 done explanations of each section. One went into all the intricacies, the lore around them, the scenery and stuff like that, a lot more detailed. And so it is natural that the one with less information in the book, they would have to fill some of that in. That I didn't mind. I didn't mind them making it a lot longer than the book because it made sense from the writing standpoint. Yes. I didn't like how they did some of it, but
they wanted
the lore, which is what they're doing now.
They didn't, or they needed that romance angle, and that's something that I disagreed with because there was no romance angle in The Hobbit.
Even adding that wouldn't have been as bad if they didn't try to do this weird, awkward dance. Sorry. This weird, awkward dance between dwarves and elves that didn't work.
Well, there are people that are saying that is a violation of the lore, too, because of the forbidden loves. But a lot of people don't realize that the forbidden loves that people are referencing are actually from the Eldar and the Edain, meaning man and elf.
It's also, by the way, again, forbidden loves doesn't mean they didn't happen. It means they weren't allowed to act on them.
Yeah.
I will say on that one, I necessarily don't agree on that being necessarily lore breaking. And our dear friend Josiah thinks it is. And I understand that's his.
Josiah is also a huge Tolkien fan as well.
Yes,
I mean,
he's on our tirades on this stuff. He is an absolute sweetheart. And I say our dear friend in absolute honesty, not any snark at all.
I mean, he much respect to Josiah.
He thinks it is. I don't necessarily agree with that part of it being lore breaking. However, I don't like how they shoehorned her in because they wanted the extra girl power that wasn't in Hobbit, that was in Lord of the Rings. Again, Lord of the Rings had that feminine power that women are strong too, women can save the day too, in it naturally, in the book written by Tolkien himself. So they didn't have to do much to put that in.
Yes, but the only two women that they had of any real consequence in Lord of the Rings was Galadriel and Éowyn. Believe it or not, Arwen was not in the forefront of the books. She was actually in the background.
It's kind of weird because she was in the background, but the love story actually was hinted at throughout it too. Yes. However, if you read this context on her that was in the background, she was supposed to be a hell of a warrior and a badass.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. That was perfectly fine with that. My biggest problem actually was leaving out the battle for the Shire, which actually had a lot of context to dealing with what hobbits really were. Yes, and leaving out Bombadillo. And those parts of I can never say his name well. I can never say his name well, and I get tongue-tied on it.
Well, this. just take out the O from Bombadillo, and you got it right.
Remember, sometimes when I say L, my mouth makes O's when I close it. You forgot that, didn't you?
I think I did.
Because that's part of the nerve damage.
Tolkien fan. She loves to tell me how Jackson shouldn't have replaced Glorfindel and how elves didn't rock up the Helm's Deep. Yeah, that's another thing. It was Helm's Deep was not helped by the elves.
I do get you know, I do get it with all the Peter Jackson changes that he made to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. But at least he made a, I mean, I can't complain because The Lord of the Rings, it's because it's all one movie. I consider them all one movie. Lord of the Rings is my second favorite movie of all time. So
yeah.
And as much crap as people give them, and as much as I'll pick apart a whole bunch of things in the Hobbit movies, I actually do like them. I fucking love how they did Smaug.
Oh yeah, Smaug was done right.
Smaug was gorgeous as hell. The effects were beautiful. The Cumberbatch did the voice beautifully, and they really got the personality of Smaug well.
I will say that I think Richard Boone in the animated Hobbit movie was a better voice for Smaug.
One of the things I actually loved about Smaug from the book was dragons are incredibly attentive when it comes to their gold, to their hoard.
Oh, they are.
When Bilbo brought I think it was a brass cup, not a gold cup, but a brass cup, out of the mountains to show the dwarves, Smaug went nuts. He actually went out to survey the mountain. He's like, I will not tolerate even a brass cup leaving my mountain.
By the way, that was actually referenced in the Chronicles of Narnia stuff too, actually, when they had the whole thing with Eustace being turned into the dragon, because the dragon actually had enchanted his treasure set. If anyone tried to take it as their own, they'd be turned into him.
Yeah. Because a dragon, and that is another thing that they also did very well.
Fuck with a dragon's keep,
Yeah. Well, they also did the dragon sickness very well as well.
Oh, I love how they handled the dragon stuff in Narnia as well, honestly. You can see, actually, if you read both sets, where the friends influenced each other's viewpoints on stuff, and where there's leanings where you can see the other person's style and personality coming into parts in both.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the comparison. I love studying the differences in their writing.
Junebug, you wanted to say something?
Sorry.
I mean, I was going to say that, I've just made the decision that I am not going to see the Amazon TV show because I'm a huge Tolkien fan. I've read all of the books, including all the stuff that Christopher Tolkien wrote and all that stuff. The fact that Peter Jackson offered to be a producer and executive producer, and Amazon did not even want to do anything with Peter Jackson. It just tells me something that they're mainly in it for the greens. And
it goes deeper than that anyways, because they had this contracted for years and they waited and they blamed everything under the sun for the last 3 years since they made the contract to say, well, no, we're not doing it yet because of this. And then they used COVID even as part of that excuse and stuff. And they kept pushing it back and kept pushing it back. They pushed it back till Christopher died because his daughter is on the SJW side and allowed them to change it.
And she basically...
Maybe, I don't know, because his son isn't really in charge of it. His daughter is because of the age and who was inherited, but his son might be. I haven't heard much of him. And so they literally waited for him to die so that they could spit on their father's memory.
That's essentially
and that is repugnant.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care if it's a going theory or not. Even if you don't think that's why they waited, they literally, after their father died, said, let's fucking spit on his memory and change it. Now that
they did the same thing with Stan Lee. They did the same thing with Stan Lee.
Oh, I know they did.
They waited for Stan Lee to die before they started injecting, or before they did the identity politic parts of the MCU. Now, yes, Stan Lee was still alive and did his cameo with Captain Marvel. However, I still think that he was not fully lucid at the time. They had him just do his cameo and move on.
I don't think from the stuff I've seen of what he was going through his last few years of life that he was very lucid at all. And I don't say that in any disrespect. The other thing with Christopher Tolkien that got to me, Christopher did not get his dad's spirituality. He did not get the religious side of it.
No, but he did understand his dad's work.
Well, that's what I was getting at. But even though he lost the spiritual side of it when he was writing about it, he followed the lore heavily. He respected how the story was written. And so even without that spiritual element, you can still tie it to the spiritual stuff and it makes sense.
Well,
He
even
drew heavily on his father's notes.
Even Tolkien's grandson is not happy with what he's seen from the TV show. Royd Tolkien.
So then it is the granddaughter alone that's behind all this, because I know she agreed to it and allowed it.
Well,
what is her name?
You know, Royd has had a cameo in every single Lord of the Rings movie. Usually, I have yet to even spot them. I've seen the movie so many times, but he read the script because they offered him a cameo, from what I've heard, and he said, "No, I'm not going to do this."
Well, this is not up to date. Christopher Tolkien, apparently to them, is the executor. Her current executors of the estate include Christopher's wife, Bale Tolkien, Christopher's nephew, Michael George Tolkien, and Priscilla Tolkien. So they're the current executors. So I wish that Bale would actually step in and say, we're pulling the contract. Thank you very much. I mean, if they're not paying attention to how many fans are having backlash to this thing that Amazon has done, they really should think about it. It's like, do you really want this perversion of your father or your father's estate to... This will reflect on Tolkien. It will reflect on him badly. And now, yes, a lot of people are like, well, you still have the books, and they are untarnished, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no.
You know they're going to rewrite the books, too, at some point.
Well, that's exactly what I was getting to. Have you guys not heard of what happened to Huck Finn, or the Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn books?
Which, by the way, he was not... Okay, we all know his name wasn't what he went under. It was not Mark Twain and all that. We all know that stuff. Let's put that aside.
Clemens,
Clemens was not a fucking racist. He put the words in there making fun of people who thought that way.
No, actually, he put it in there for historical accuracy, because that is how the people fucking talked back then.
Yes, it is. And if you actually pay attention, the people that he had talked that way were the dumbest ones in the group. Mm-hmm. He didn't like that attitude. He didn't like that thought process, even being a man from that time. But it was how people talked. It was how people acted. So he put it in there. It doesn't mean he is a racist. I have a friend that I've known a long time that I met through a writer's group I was doing down at the bookstore in a nearby city. He is I would say he leans to the other side politically from me, definitely. And I'm in the center, slightly to the right, you know. Mm-hmm. He buys a lot of this stuff politically and stuff like that. Most of the stuff he writes is full of slurs and stuff because he's showing different groups from different political and social backgrounds who use those slurs. And he would actually be sitting there writing next to me, making notes going, no, that doesn't work. And he'd put a note over a section going, needs to be more offensive.
Yeah. There's also the, or now if you want to see, or if these SJWs are going to say, well, anybody who used that language in their works are racist, well, then Stephen King is a racist. Stephen King is a pedophile. Stephen King is all that stuff. Because look what he did with his books. Stephen King is a piece of shit.
I mean, come on.
I mean, yes, he is he is dumb as they come when it comes to certain aspects of his life. But
oh, he's a flaming hypocrite and an asshole too, but that's another tirade.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you guys are going to freaking make or go after these people for what they put in their books, then you should go after the other ones as well. Hey, lovely Sherry, it is awesome to see you.
Just because you tell a story in your books does not mean you are supporting it. Do people not understand that, there's a reason why Lolita was written, and it had nothing to do with fucking supporting pedophilic behavior.
Well, it's not just that. It's also it. You had kids having sex in the sewer.
Well, that's where I went referencing historically Lolita, which was the French novel dealing with a pedophile grooming and killing a child after sexually abusing her.
Never read it, so I didn't know.
classic literature. It's referenced a lot in.
Right now,
that.
I'm reading Courtship of Princess Leia.
Stanley Kubrick made a movie about it. They later on made a movie in the
Well, Stanley
90s.
Kubrick can't come back to the U.S. either, so.
But my point is, and
no, wait, is that Kubrick?
Just because I didn't think so. I think
he chose to move to.
Who was the one that did the Ninth Gate? Who was the director of Ninth Gate?
I don't know. But what I was getting at is,
Nino.
what I was getting at on this is that there's a specific reason why some of these things are taken on in writing. And this is the problem I've been hitting as somebody who writes heavily and stuff. A lot of the stuff I write about is things that I've been through, things that the victims and the people I work with have been through, things that I've seen and experienced, all this kinds of stuff. And all of these things that we write about to be a voice for those who've been through it. We write about it to tell the stories and let people see what it's like for a victim, because it does help people wake up to what's around them. And because when you've been through that kind of shit, writing about it is cathartic. It's healing. It's also like gallus humor. It's a way to release that pain that you've experienced. And what I'm finding stonewalling is every writer's site out there, with the exception of like 3, and those 3 are unusual for other reasons, which I'll get into in a minute, all have extreme censorship regulations where you're not allowed to talk about any taboo subjects within your writing and post to them.
Yeah.
This is a big issue, especially when you consider that the majority of writers become writers because of trauma, tragedy, and PTSD, and writing is an escape from what they've been through.
Yep.
There's a reason writing is dark. There's a reason writing is often dark, even with a lot of religious or social religious and stuff like that people, writing is very dark, and that's because you're dealing with the darkness of humanity. And it's important to be able to deal with the darkness of humanity and not censor it. Censorship kills that. The other 3 sites are unusual because to cover their ass on that, they have one of 2 clauses on all of them, which is either that they can alter your work without your consent or notifying you, or they claim ownership and copyright of your work. Fuck you on both of those. You're not changing my words, and I'm now accountable for what you made me say that I didn't say.
Yeah.
No.
So, on those notes, there's this guy that was getting into disputes with me. Apparently, he's a Tolkien fan too, and a lot of people went after me because I did do something in poor taste on Twitter. I laid a challenge out to Tolkien Professor, OneRing.net, or OneRing.com, and other ones, which was actually ill-conceived because I got it wrong. And yes, I am a person who will admit my faults and admit my mistakes. I actually did do it was in poor taste, 1, and 2, I was actually wrong in what I was doing in context of the lore that I was challenging them to. I challenged them to who did Sauron see as his chiefest rival when it came to the ring. I had misread the Unfinished Tales, that specific area of it, where Gollum was actually referring to Sauron as his chiefest rival for the ring, where Sauron saw Gollum as inconsequential. Yes, he could not break his will except for putting or dominating fear or destroying him outright, but he did not see Gollum as any sort of rival. Now, I did get that wrong. I did get that backward. And yes, I even talked with the Tolkien professor afterward. Not on here or anything. I missed his Twitch stream, which I actually was going to check out, but that was because OG Star Wars went live, and I support OG Star Wars. But I did actually apologize to the Tolkien professor. A lot of people do like to rag on him for him getting the beard thing wrong with female dwarves. Now, he's allowed to have his opinion. He is allowed to have his opinion, folks. But I also stand by mine. If you are going to claim to be somebody who is an expert on a certain piece of lore or whatever, it is always necessary to challenge those who would claim to be experts to make sure that when you are using them as sources, that they are reliable sources. Now, as I said, I do apologize to the Tolkien professor for my poor taste and ill-conceived challenge. OneRing.net has blocked me. I do not care because they go by their movies, or they go by the lore of the movies too much, which the movies are not the principled and purest lore. They,
they blocked me for actually pointing out information without even attacking. And I actually was giving them a post that actually explained how they could put their social messaging in without breaking the lore. And they blocked me for that.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. OneRing.net is not, folks, and I will say this, they are not a legitimate Tolkien information source. I don't care if they've had Christopher Lee on. I don't care if they've had other people on. The OneRing.net are the biggest gatekeepers out there. Now, yes, I have said in a tweet, and I will stand by it, Tolkien's works are not for everyone. They are for those who will appreciate and respect his work, not seek to change his work. Tolkien, or OneRing.net, is one of the groups, as well as the Tolkien Society. They seek to change his work. They seek to change the expression and the messages behind his work. How you doing, Lasso of Truth? It is always lovely to see you. Good to see you, Trina.
Trina!
Hello.
And if anybody wants to come in, well, here you go. If you want to join my random stream, there is the link. I will be putting it in the chat.
Well, to be fair, I would encourage everybody to read Tolkien because maybe it could teach them some actually good values, but it's up to them to listen to them.
Exactly. And another thing that a lot of people did not realize is Tolkien was a nature buff. He hated technology. He did not like the advancements of technology and how it was destroying nature.
Because
why do you think he had the scene, or he had the Ents marching on Orthanc?
Well, because the ring, Tolkien did not agree with allegories, but he said in one of his letters, I don't remember like the number of the letter or anything, that the ring is an allegory for the machine.
Yes.
But Tolkien did agree, though, that some machines were necessary, like, for instance, the typewriter that helped him write his books.
But he also did say that one of the world's worst inventions are the I'm so sorry, I can't read your name on my phone, but hail to you as well. It's Eagle Rider, or it's Rosetta.
She got me. She missed Junebug.
Oh yeah, Junebug. Yeah, that's Junebug, Lasso.
No, I mean that's the thing is that's part of where I connect to him. That's part of where I connect to him because while I use what I have to for technology, because in this society, it's the only way to get your voice heard and have an effect anymore. I'm not a technology person. I rant and tirade about it all the time, and the only technology I really like is my cameras out there doing my artwork and taking photos. And I am a nature girl. I'm out there with wildlife. I'm doing conservation work. I am what they would call in the conservation and rangers and stuff like that, they would call the civilian scientists, or the people who help catalog the animals, track them, and take care of them for the authorities.
Yeah.
And so that's passion. And so that's part of why I connect to him, is because wildlife, nature, the power of creation was deep in everything he wrote.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly. He understood that, the machine, and in a lot of ways, I actually do agree with Tolkien about the machine. But, like for what I do for a living, tree trimming, it actually helps trees grow better and all that stuff. Cutting them, and even if you have to use a chainsaw, it helps them grow. And everything. But, that's one of the reasons I love Tolkien so much. And he influenced my writing as far as scripts go. I try to get that more poetic style that Tolkien has, which is not exactly the most easiest style to write in.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and yes, you're right about that. And I've tirade about, if you want to be a conservationist, you have to understand that because man is in the environment, it changes how the environment behaves, and we have to maintain the environment to correct the damage that our existence causes. So, not clear cutting, but maintenance cutting, cleaning up fire damage, debris, helping to cull certain populations if they get out of control, helping to rebuild populations if they get endangered and stuff, is part of what we have to do. We can't just say, well, we're going to keep our hands off and let nature take its course, because us being there has already impacted how nature is taking its course.
Did anybody read the New Shadow, the sequel that Tolkien was going to write to the Lord of the Rings?
God, I am way too tired to be thinking this hard.
It was in the Peoples of Middle Earth by Christopher Tolkien. He only got about through.
I'm pretty sure I did read all of the stuff a long time ago, but I just don't remember all the titles to it because it was a long time ago. You know.
Tolkien only wrote about 13 pages. But what he wrote was very interesting. It was about an evil cult that took over Gondor and Arda. And the cult was more of an, I guess you could say, again, Tolkien hated allegories, but it was more of an allegory for like how things influenced children more, because the cult took over the minds of children. It was a very dark 13 pages.
Shire was J.K. or J. Tolkien's version of Utopia. In a sense, yes. However, it was also his way of showing that there were people who tended to stay away from the affairs of the world and the outside world.
And that you can't really necessarily always do that, no matter how much you try.
Yeah. That is why the Shire actually has its own measure of time called By Shire Reckoning, which is actually explained in the books.
This is true.
Now, another thing I also wanted to say before I move on to another topic, which actually is going to require me sharing snippets of music from the MCU. Before I do,
tonight.
Huh?
So you're trying to see if you can get struck tonight.
No, I am admitting right out. I do not own any of the music whatsoever, and anything that I play is strictly falls under fair use, where it is using or where it is being evaluated and critiqued.
Oh, I agree, but we all know they're full of bullshit, and they'll probably do it.
They can try, and I will appeal, and I will say, look, I will edit my description of this stream, and I will have it say I do not own the rights, but I will not take down that stream. I have a right to fair use. And if I have to get a lawyer to fight them, I will. Fair use is allowed on YouTube.
Oh, I agree, and I've been part of the ones saying we need to start fighting these claims more, because the fact that they're striking anything, even if you're reporting on something, is ridiculous. They're trying to silence anyone but their few news articles and places they like.
Yep. Now, before we do, I do also want to give the shout out to Disparu, who pointed out that the cringe roundtable of super fans and lore buffs and whatnot was a deceptive practice by Amazon and by Prime Video UK, as well as Prime Video International, which did Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands as well, where they did these promotions shot for shot. They showed that these things were, or Disparu exposed these things were what they were. These weren't Tolkien fans, because all they were talking about was diversity and representation. They didn't give a shit about the fact that Galadriel was not a commander of the Northern armies. They didn't give a shit that hobbits were not even in the Second Age. They didn't give a shit that there's no such thing as a black elf or a black dwarf at all. They don't give a shit about any of that. They only give a shit about, oh, I can now identify with somebody in Middle Earth because they wear my skin color. Well, that's not Middle Earth anyway. This is such a gross perversion of Middle Earth's world that it's not Middle Earth.
What was in the Second Age? There were, I mean, if they actually studied
Hobbits existed in the Second Age, but they were of no consequence to the greater events of the Second Age.
Right. You know, if if people actually read not just The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, actually read the Silmarillion. Midwest accent.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But anybody who read that book,
Silmarillion.
Me and Orange had said it simultaneously. It actually almost repeated each other's clarity.
And the unfinished tales and all that stuff. They would learn that Tolkien had a diverse lore and everything. Like, he had different races and all this stuff. But you know, they only care about that. They only focus on The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, which Tolkien didn't get to see it, but he got to, which, as we know later, was published by his son. But the guy spent so much time. He even had his own calendar set up, his own sections of the moon for Arda and his world. I mean, you know, and that is kind of one of the reasons why
you can hold on. I need to answer this. You can ask the Quartering, or I believe Lyndon Hall might have it. Lyndon Hall from Lethal Gang. You might get it from the Quartering, Jeremy. You might get it from Ryan Kennel. Because it's a privatized video, you have to have the link in order to watch it.
So, yeah, you know, and if here, like one of my other favorite fantasy stories, The Wheel of Time, and if Amazon's that's any way to judge what they're going to do with Tolkien, I found the Wheel of Time series boring.
Yeah.
And
well, I honestly never read it, so I wouldn't know anything about it.
Robert Jordan is probably the closest. I'm not comparing them because it's literally like comparing apples and oranges. But I would probably say Robert Jordan is the closest we have to an American Tolkien.
I'll disagree with you on there. I'll say Karen Travis. Or I'll say Terry Goodkind. So, yeah. Karen Travis did, or with what she did with the Mandalorians and Star Wars, basically, she pulled a Tolkien, is how I put it. But yes, moving on from that, I do want to give a shout out to Disparu. So thank you so much for exposing that. It does put a huge damper on the reputation of Amazon. It may not affect them overall, but it does show that they are extremely deceptive and destructive in what they are doing. Now, there are a couple people who are reinvigorating an old argument, because the woke crowd, this wasn't on YouTube, or this wasn't on Twitter. This was actually years ago, originally on YouTube, I believe, a video where the Phase 1 scores are incredibly forgettable. And I'm like, but those are the ones that I mostly remember. And Hardwick Bentho, good to see you. Did you know that Tolkien once wrote that he thought Christopher Lee would be a good casting as Gandalf? He gave Christopher Lee his blessing to play Gandalf if they ever made a movie. However, he made a much better Sauron. Now, but moving on to the MCU scores, I do want to say right now, I do not own the MCU score or the pieces that I am going to play. They belong to their respective owners at Disney and Marvel Studios and whatnot. They are products of them. I do not own them. However, what I am doing does fall under the fair use policy. I did this before when I did my music my music psychology stream one time when I played these pieces before. So I am going to play you guys. Just listen, or I'm going to, let me see. Oh, wow. Now, I'm going to play this piece. And I want you guys to tell me, well, if I can get through the ads first. Cannot stand Galbani cheese ads and whatnot. Don't need cheese anymore, people. Well, I don't need it, but I do eat it.
I like cutting it.
Yeah. So, I'm going to share this. But I'm not, or I'm going to do my best to not, I don't want to share the screen. I just wish I could share the audio. Well, actually, you know what? I got my phone to do that, or I can do this with my phone. So, yeah. I'm going to play a piece of Phase 1 soundtrack of the MCU, folks. And those of you in the chat and the panel themselves, if you recognize this, take a guess at what it is. No. First off, okay. Now turn the media up again. Disney and Marvel. I do not own this. This is your stuff. However, I am doing it for an entertaining purpose, not to use it in full. I'm only going to play snippets. So do not strike me. So anyway, this is a piece from Phase 1. Can anybody tell me? Actually, I will go to my instrumentals. And this one is actually a lot easier to, hold on. There we go. This one is a hell of a lot easier to recognize, I think. For those of you who have headphones in, this is your only warning that this might be loud. So here we go. Tell me if you recognize this. Does anybody recognize that in the panel or the chat? We got a couple people. And Hardwick Bentho is actually correct, as is Von
Sorry,
J.
by the
Kester.
way, it is Thor. I'm just trying to finish writing something and distracted.
Yep. That is from Thor, the original soundtrack by Patrick Doyle. Now, I will go back one. Now, this one is also, you will probably guess this.
Really excited about
Let me.
Ad
All
Man.
right. Yeah, that's ads. This fucking piece of shit. Another. Well, at least it's okay, now. All right. Now, again, warning, headphones. Here we go. Tell me if you recognize this one. It's a build-up. Hardwick.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of people immediately will recognize these for what they are. That is indeed Captain America's theme. It screams out, well, one, to me, it actually screams out a sense of patriotism. Now,
I'm not going to answer these quickly anyways, because I'm going to let people listen for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Now,
it's only polite.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my case, I don't think Hollywood has had necessarily a good score since probably Lord of the Rings. So,
well, I will
disagree a bit with that. I will say that Howard Shore and Hans Zimmer are two of my favorite composers.
I think video game composers have gotten to be better film composers.
Speaking of the video game sound effects, if you're really interested in a couple things, I'll send you a couple songs from. There's a band that did a few things called Emerald Mine. Their music really sounds like you took some of the most hardcore, the operatic metal, and blended it with true traditional video game sound effects.
All right, you guys ready for the next one?
It's wicked.
Mm-hmm. Here's the next one. Headphone warning.
You're fine.
No, you're not late, Kamen Rider.
How should we listen to Iron Man?
Indeed, Vancia actually got it right, and so did Rosetta. That is from Iron Man.
And considering my laptop's up over here and I'm staring down when I answer to you.
I don't recognize that as the Iron Man theme song.
That's the.
I'm sorry. To me, every time I hear the word Iron Man, I still think Black Sabbath, but that's a whole different thing.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. But to me, if I was to listen to that, if somebody was to play that randomly, I was like, that's from Iron Man. Always arrive precisely when you mean to. Exactly, Jeff D.
Black Sabbath is the true Iron Man theme.
I'm going to side with June on this one.
Just like the Ramones, it's the true Spider-Man theme.
All right, let's see here.
Yeah, but I got to admit, Aerosmith did it well.
But Aerosmith is not the Ramones.
All right, this one is from fucking stupid ads. TikTok shit. Can't go too long on it. Figured 40 seconds is enough. Yep. And yeah, like I said, these are easily identifiable themes from phase one. Every one of them is immediately, well, maybe not immediately, but pretty much, for me, instantly recognizable. The MCU is just that well put together, the first phase. And a lot of people say that Infinity War was the best movie, and or Civil War was the best movie, or whatever. And I'm like, or Winter Soldier was the best movie. Honestly, I think the first phase was the best period. And that does include the Incredible Hulk. A lot of people give it shit. A lot of people say it's not that good. And yes, it didn't do well in the box office. But if you ask me, those movies had a dark grit to them that worked. And also, they were pre-Disney.
Or Ruffalo.
Yeah. Norton was better than Ruffalo.
Absolutely.
I'll say that Bill Bixby will always be the best.
Well, yeah, but also that was another thing that they were trying to.
Either.
That's a thing that they were actually trying to pay homage to, was the Bill Bixby version of Hulk. They had Lou Ferrigno doing the Hulk's voice.
Yeah, there's one thing to be said for the movie with Norton, besides the fact that Norton overall is a better actor than Ruffalo, anyways, and they're both left-wing loons, so it's not political why I like one more than the other. Norton's a better actor, first of all. Second of all, I like him anyways because I have a weakness for Death to Smoochie, but that's a whole other rant. But there's something to be said for Hulk was always supposed to be very, very delicate, skinny, nerdy boy when he wasn't Hulk. Ruffalo doesn't fit that. Ruffalo looks like Hulk in both ways. And besides that, they made Hulk look too much like Ruffalo to the point where it doesn't look like a completely separate entity anymore. And so the cross between skinny nerd to Hulk was so much better with Norton.
Mm-hmm. And they made the Hulk look like a freaking beast, man. When he screamed and whatnot, that would terrify a person. That would make me shit my pants if I was in that area. And I guarantee you, I would have to just freaking light the pants on fire afterward, because holy crap, those pants would never come clean. But with the Mark Ruffalo Hulk, and later on the dabbing Hulk, the dumbass Hulk as I call it, that wasn't Professor Hulk by any stretch. But it's like, what is this? I mean, yeah, I like the Hulk, but he looks goofy.
I can't stand Ruffalo. Not just as an actor.
I
can't stand him across the board. But even if I took everything I know about him away and looked at him just as an actor, his acting, he's not got range. Everything he plays is him, and I'm sorry, but he doesn't have enough personality to get away with that.
Hardwick Bentho is absolutely correct here. And he thought Mark Ruffalo was good in the first two Avengers movies, but then stopped putting in the effort to play Bruce Banner and started playing himself. Exactly.
I think he was okay in the first couple he was in. I still don't think he was good. I think Norton was good. I think he was okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But he wasn't bad in them.
Yeah.
But he got bad. He got horrible the longer he went on.
Yeah, he just started playing himself because Disney wanted him to be goofy and whatnot. It's like, do you not know that Bruce Banner is not goofy? He's a fucking recluse. And he's antisocial for a reason. I mean, they don't know their own shit, but they wanted to make it their own. And you know what? They did, and then, well, the Infinity Saga, like I said, that's the only great movies as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I do like the Spider-Man movies. No Way Home was, if it wasn't for the nostalgia, that movie would not be good. I will say that right now. I do plan on getting it. I was hoping I could get it on the 28th, but I'm going to have to wait till April to get it. So that kind of pisses me off. But Doctor Strange 2 looks interesting to a degree, but I have a feeling it is going to go full freaking identity politics. And I looked at the trailer where...
And he froze. Was that on my end or everybody's?
Everybody.
Okay. I wasn't sure if he froze or my internet did again because we've been having sleet and ice storms for days and we've had the internet outage several times.
Yeah.
So it's like, was that me or was that him? Oh, goodness.
The Disney executives got to him.
Poor Orange Hat. I hope he gets back in here soon.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really liked anything Hollywood's put out since, like, I was in high school, so...
See, there's things I've liked okay, and there's things that I enjoyed over the last couple decades, but other than a couple sitcoms, I haven't watched hardly anything in the last about 6 years. When they started heading towards Captain Marvel and those, I tuned out of that even, and that was one of the only things I watched then. Most of what I watch are homesteading shows, forging shows, and shit where they're making things and blowing shit up. So...
Just...
Forged in Fire is one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
As is watching Irish Mike's YouTube channel, and I still think he should have been given more episodes when he was doing the show Big Giant Swords.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, folks.
Did
internet busted up.
Are you sure it was the internet, or did the Disney executives get to you because you're talking about...
No, it was my internet. The little internet thingy went down. But yeah, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, they went, or I think that Doctor Strange 2 is actually going to go. They're going to go woke, because as Scarlet Witch said, and I believe this is where I started to freeze. If I break the rules, I'm the bad guy. If you break it, you're a hero. That doesn't seem fair. Well, here's the thing, Scarlet. You enslaved a population. You brainwashed them against their will. Yes, Doctor Strange fucked with reality, but at least he sees what he did was wrong. Now they also the America Chavez character, and I'm like, who the fuck is America Chavez? And apparently everybody's going after her because she's not black enough. Apparently this America Chavez is a race traitor. From all these idiots on Twitter, and I'm
it's not
like
the people who call me horrible, horrific racial slurs about natives and whites because I'm not supposed to be pale skinned and native. And it doesn't matter what I say, or even if they agree with me, they call me these things. This bigotry towards mixed race and pale skinned minorities that's going on, especially in the minority communities right now, is nasty.
Somebody get this piece of shit bot.
Racist.
Steven Fields. We got a bot in the chat. But yeah, Gary Nerdrotic has a friend who works at Disney and claims that Doctor Strange 2 is good. This was the same source who told him what a mess the Eternals would be. Well, here's the thing. No offense to Gary from Nerdrotic, unless or if this is a consistent source and their information is constantly or is consistent, thank you, is consistent and is accurate for, well, let's say a few months to a year or two, then I will consider them a valid source. I look at people or YouTubers like Mr. H Reviews, who, when he does his videos and he is citing sources and says, well, this might, or this leak happened and this is most likely what's going to happen in the movie or and whatnot. This is just taken with a grain of salt right now, though. But his sources and his reports happen to be accurate down to the detail. And while I have all the respect in the world for the bigger channels, I would prefer to bump up the smaller channels so that we all have a chance to rise together. I mean, as much as I respect the people in Friday Night Tights and whatnot, all of them individually, I feel that I am now doing my streams on Thursday so as not to have any sort of comparative airtime with them, because I haven't been doing well getting time up in my watch hours. I'm still above 2,000, but my goal is 3,000 before the year is out, as is my goal for subs to be 1,000. I don't fully expect to be eligible for monetization until next year around November. Next November, 2023. Because I had to basically plead or beg and plead for people to watch my content, watch my playlists in order to get my hours up or back in November or October and November of last year to get my hours from 1,600 to fucking 2,000. And I am thankful to people who are like Amelia, Rosetta, Mongo, Riot Kitty, all of them for stepping up and supporting them. So yeah, when I get to 1,000, I mean, even though I'm doing it right now, I'm supporting the smaller channels and I will continue to promote them. They will always have priority coming onto my channel. They will have the priority coming onto my channel. The 1,000s and ups, they will be put in the back burner. They had their rise. They made it above their goals. We are struggling as smaller YouTube content creators.
One of those reasons, Orange, why we're struggling, was because they used the whole COVID culture to push all of these major stars, major actors, big bands, big names onto YouTube and have them start streaming instead of doing public shows. And guess what? I understand why some of them would do it. I'm not necessarily anything malicious against them. I mean, if you're being told you can't leave your house and you want to reach out to your fans, I support fully. Do a concert so they can hear from you. A lot of those were done free as a tribute. But it caused all these people who would normally watch YouTubers in those time frames to shift all these big names. And it wasn't a malicious thing. I don't believe that. But it did still impact a lot of the small channels pretty profoundly because everyone was suddenly inside streaming.
Yeah. I mean, look at Brie Larson. She got monetized her first day on YouTube.
Which is supposed to be impossible according to their own terms of service.
Yeah. So it's like, hello, you get to it took you fucking 6 months to monetize one of our friends here. I'll never make it to 700, let alone.
Yes, you will.
Captain Trek. The thing is,
Cap, 1 sec. Let me say something. Yeah. How many times have I had you tell me this will never happen, that will never happen, I'll never get this, I'll never get that, and I told you it will, and they've happened. You will make it. It may be slow, but you'll make it.
If Elfman did the Age of Ultron score, that's news to me. I actually did not know that. Elfman himself is actually a pretty good composer.
Elfman is way too damn good to keep working with fucking Burton. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that is definite. I fully agree with you.
I love Danny Elfman's music, and I can't stand Tim Burton. So,
yeah,
absolutely, he deserves so much higher class for his music because he's amazing.
Elfman will always be known as the one who made criminals fear Batman. I mean, that freaking theme just screams run or you're going to get your ass beaten to a pulp. I love it. But yes, Elfman is incredibly talented. And CJH, how you doing? Hope you are not under too much stress up in the dictatorship that is Canada right now. But
I hope to make it to 1,000.
All of us are striving to make it to 1,000. Believe me, Captain Trek, I never thought I'd actually get to 800. I never even thought I'd get to 600, let alone 800.
I never thought I'd get to 500. I thought at 500 would be about the cap of people who would be willing to listen to my mouth and not run away in terror at my either mental issues or my just crass opinionated feelings.
But also,
but I'm almost to 1,000.
Yeah.
Not to
do
sound-
not be afraid.
Well, not to sound
Do not
cocky.
be afraid to ask people
Go ahead,
for
Jim Bug.
help.
Not to
Do
sound
not
cocky.
be-
I always thought I'd make it on YouTube because being a film historian and everything, I'm surprised because I mean I managed to get close to 500 within 2 years of on YouTube. So
I will put it this way.
Believe me, it's not easy.
As much as I don't have a lot of self-esteem in a lot of ways, and I don't, my photography, my writing, my art streams are fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
The work I do deserves more credit than I get.
Yeah. And believe me, folks, a lot of people are like, well, get onto the bigger channels. First off, nothing against the bigger channels. I see that as a crutch. Nothing against anybody who got onto bigger channels to get their boosts. I see that personally as a crutch. I have
It's
nothing
nice if
against
it
anybody
happens.
who did
It shouldn't be needed. It's nice if it happens,
exactly.
but there's nothing wrong
it's
with
nice
doing
if
it the hard
happens,
way.
But it should not be needed. Me, when I reach 1,000, I can honestly say I got there with the support of my followers and with little support from the greater channels, from the much bigger channels. And when I say much bigger, I am talking about 5,000 and above. I am not talking about 1,000 and up. I am talking 5 to 10,000 and
people
up.
like Anthony and Fat Steven and them supporting us in their 1,000, 3,000. Even Lethal at his when he had his channels floating 4,000, 5,000. Yeah. That's different than having these massive channels with tens and hundreds of thousands.
Anna and the Geeks and Gamers crew, basically, essentially, and Nerdrotic and them, and the Friday Night Tights boys and girls.
I mean,
and like I said, I have nothing against them. I have all respect for them. They are great people. Jesse's girl, good to see you.
I was going to say,
but the thing is, I do not feel that I should have to beg and grovel to them to get my channel promoted in order to reach 1,000 subscribers.
What I was saying with that too, going on those big channels, does not guarantee you that bump, but even if you get that bump, the people who bump you because they saw you on a big channel, most of them unsub within a few days.
Exactly.
Because I will tell you, I don't get that bump anymore when I go over to Mindless Entertainment with Jesse because everyone there knows me. Yeah. So they're not checking my channel again.
We're all getting close.
Even when I got pulled on to Anna's channel, I had a bump of almost 100 that night, and almost all 100 were gone by the next 24 hours. They don't stay.
Well, that's the thing, dude. We're all trying to get monetized. I have a lot of subs, but I'm not monetized. I'm a nobody. Thing is, you're not a nobody. You're somebody, man. You just got to find out how your channel will work. I found you while watching one of the bigger channels and decided to check out your channel out. It was some comment you left, but I don't remember what it was. Thank you, Jesse's girl. I mean, that's all a person can really do. I mean, my channel, or Odin is the one from OMB Reviews, Odin's movie blog. He was the one that got me interested in doing YouTube. And I will always be indebted to Odin for that. Odin's channel is great. He is a movie person. He's a movie buff like I am. He's also ADHD like I am. Or he's ADD rather.
He is right in that bubble of the movie stuff, the mental issues and stuff like both of us. And I love hanging out with Odin. All of it. I love hanging out with him.
I mean, believe me, if I could do the $25 and up Patreon thing to get on his Chosen of Valhalla, I would. Unfortunately, I have limited means, so I can't do that.
I do it not because I want to be on his channel because I want the attention or stuff, or because of that, but because I like supporting him because he's a very good guy, and B, I like being in the streams with him just to talk with him and hang out with a friend.
That is exactly what I mean. Me, I wouldn't do that just to get on his channel. I mean,
No.
if he wants me on his channel, believe me, he can invite me and I'll behave and whatnot. And because a lot of people know, yes, I do swear on my channel, but I've actually worked to tone that down. If I'm angry or if I'm doing a rant, sure, I'll let one loose. But
wait. Am I supposed to turn down my swearing on this channel? Am I fucked?
No, you're not. But if you want to, go ahead. You don't have to swear. Even when Odin actually came onto my channel at times, I didn't always, or I would actually stop swearing if I could.
To be fair, unless I can reach the mute button, it's not something I usually control because of the brain issues. So for me, it's not quite the same. Oh, Tug is a fucking sweetheart, by the way. And by the way, having the big people come to your channel and interview with you doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to get bumped from them either. Because a lot of these big names, both through the Geeksy Gamer stuff, but also a lot of these bigger names all over the place, like RBM and all these people, I've interviewed. I've talked to. They've been on my channel. It didn't do anything. Nobody even noticed the interviews hardly.
If I am aware of the series or watching the series, I will talk about the series, yes. Cobra Kai, I absolutely love.
Cobra Kai's awesome.
Some of the Netflix series, I absolutely love some of the Netflix series that I'm watching. I also use Netflix to watch series that I haven't seen in years, like The Vampire Diaries and the originals. I didn't get to check out the originals. I was in jail because of false accusations against me. But I am going to be checking out the originals after I'm done watching The Vampire Diaries. But, which should be not too long because if I do another binge on The Vampire Diaries, I'll be in the final season.
Hey, one of the YouTubers who inspired me, I mean, he does that not so much as what he's most known for. And I don't know about him really nowadays. James Rolfe.
No.
More his film history stuff inspired me.
Yeah, I was 18 and I said I was uploading my first video, and he was like, "Well, that's awesome, right, Kitty? I wish you luck." And there I was, and here I am 3 years later. Exactly. I mean, shit. I got mine started in 2018 or 2019. I think it was 19 that I got my channel going, and I've been at it ever since, and it's been 3 years almost. We're in 2022, so yeah, it's going on 3 years in April where I got my channel going, and it's like 3 years, I'm only at 800 subs or 830 some odd subs. So yeah, we're doing pretty well. But yet, do not be afraid, folks, to constantly bug people if you have to on Twitter. Ask for that help. Ask, can you guys help me out? Can we rise together? Remind the bigger channels where they came from. Every one of those bigger channels started where we were. Why can't we get there? You know?
Just one thing I will say to that, just don't be a jerk about it. Don't try to shame them. If you message them, if you message them and they say no, do not post shit bashing them, because I've seen people do this.
Yes, there have been people who have
respectful.
Done that.
Be respectful in how you do it. Show respect as you do it. But yes, reach out to people. If they ignore you, if they say no to you, oh well, move on.
Mm-hmm. And don't ever take their ignoring you as something personal. Believe me, I tried reaching out to people like Anna or Jesse. Honestly, I never got a response back from Anna, but Jesse, she did, and she's like, I have a lot of things going on right now. I can't, so I'm sorry about that. And it's like, you know what? That's completely understandable. And never got anything from Anna. But then again, Anna has her own business going on. She's doing photography stuff for her own calendar, and she does her artwork and whatnot. So obviously it was a shot in the dark, but you know what? I missed. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to get onto her or her onto my channel or anything like that. Maria with T and Telly. Hey,
sweetie.
Hello.
No, I mean the Anna one completely stunned me, because that was a couple of years ago, and what happened was really weird. Okay, I had a meltdown. It was, to me, 25 years. It was the 25th anniversary of one of the worst traumas of my life. It was the night it had happened. I had to travel, and somebody did something on the way back home that set off that PTSD hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the car, and by the time I realized I was tweeting a tirade, I started pulling down about 50 tweets that were completely insane PTSD, freak out, anxiety attack stuff.
Yeah.
I thought I had pulled them all down, and I had missed one. And I realized I missed one because I had comments on it checking on me from Doomcock and Anna.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. And the mess, thank you. And they talked to me a bit through that night. And so Anna started doing a stream the day after. And I went into the chat and, sent her a super chat thanking her for helping me through it and talking to me. Yeah. And just said, thank you for being there and so nice to me. And she made this comment about how much, no, I've loved talking to you. You're a sweetheart and stuff and stuff. Would you like to come on and talk to me? And what? I mean, okay, sure. And I was like, not really believing what I just heard.
Mm-hmm.
And
there are people that will reach out like that.
It popped up with the link to the stream, and I'm like, holy shit. And I fucking broke down that night for the first half hour on that stream. She had to keep me hidden off the camera system because I couldn't handle the crowd of the chat. I didn't know what it's like to be in front of that many people.
Honestly, I am wondering what happened to her as well, because she was
I will say this much.
She had a lot going on before she disappeared.
When I went down, because unfortunately when she disappeared, the last person who was seen with her was me, so I've had to deal with this a lot. Because the last stream and video she did was me streaming with her at her house.
Yeah.
She went through a lot that couple days when that was happening, with somebody causing her a lot of stress and grief and scaring the hell out of her and making her fear for her and her kids. And she had a breakdown and ended up in rehab from that. And after that, she just didn't come back. So
thoughts and prayers to her.
She's, as far as I've talked to her a couple times since then, she's been fine. She just doesn't want to deal with this stuff. With her anxiety, she just found it too much.
Yeah. And that's understandable, because yes, this stuff can be, I mean, there are times where I don't feel like just doing I just don't feel like doing a video, because it's
Shut up, DJ!
I am so fucking locked her up and is forcing her to make sandwiches.
Fuck you, DJ. Do you know how many people have asked me, what'd you do to her? Where is she? Why doesn't she come back since she streamed with you? It's like,
that's the real funny thing with me. Growing up on the farm, I understand people who have, lack of a better word, issues. I've always just had, growing up on the farm, I've in the Midwest and everything, I've always just had that attitude. Well, you got to shoot the horse and walk away,
Oh, believe me, yeah, I understand that too.
A lot of people are really surprised by, my more of my mental toughness that I have.
You got a strong mental constitution. There's nothing wrong with that.
I will also say,
I've lost so many. I'll let Rosetta go first.
I was going to say, I'll say one other thing about what happened with Amy is she is an absolutely sweet, kind person, and she was actually the one that helped out me and Chris after the hit and run with dealing with not just the bills, but the stress and medical and stuff after.
Yeah.
So I miss her to pieces, but I understand why she's kind of pulled away from this whole world and the people in it.
Yeah. But yeah, as for me, a lot of people are, when my aunt, as I was talking about earlier, when she goes, I will be emotional about it. She is my godmother, and I am very close with my aunt. However, if I was to lose a different family member, say one that I wasn't close to, believe me, as much as I would like to have that emotional reaction, because back in 2018, I lost an uncle. I had not seen him enough to really solidify a relationship that was really solid. I hadn't talked to him enough and whatnot. But my aunt, his wife, I had known for many, many years and whatnot. However, when he died, I was, I was, I didn't show any outward signs that I was emotionally distraught because honestly, at the time, it hadn't hit me yet. But once we got into that funeral parlor, once I was standing up in that area, that's when the dam broke. I was mostly staying strong for my aunt at the time because I knew if I was to break down, she would break down too. And she would go longer than any of us. In some ways, I am a very instinctive person. I have an animal side to me that it's not like a wild animal. It's an instinctive side that just takes over in some ways in certain parts that make a lot of people, think this person is weird. When I hear a noise that is not familiar, or if I hear a noise that is not common around, I will perk up and I will look in the direction of that noise like a dog would. If I am smelling
See,
something that is out of place, I will investigate that smell. If I
mhm.
or it's and a lot of people are like,
I,
"Gosh, you're very animalistic," and I'm like, "It's experience, life."
and you're saying animalistic here as she's mauling me for attention. But let's. I was going to answer what CJH said. Yeah, I mean, I,
Yeah,
all
bipolar.
disclosure here. I do have a form of bipolar. I do have a form of autism. I have anxiety issues. I have PTSD. Growing into the CPTSD, I have OCD issues, and I have brain scars and weird flashbacks and developing Parkinson's. So, I'm not all there.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
Like, a similar story to you, Orange Hat. My when my aunt passed away, this was like
yeah.
the aunt that everybody wanted to see.
yeah,
That aunt in the family.
yeah,
She passed away, and like she lived all the way in New Jersey, so we drove up there, and like it was a very weird stay because that was like that her death did not seem real. Like it felt like you were in a really bad dream. Like is
mm-hmm.
the best way to describe it, and then it didn't
Denial.
really hit you until you saw her in the coffin, and like nobody in the
My
wake
uncle,
could go up and see her. Like it was that much of a shocking funeral.
my uncle, that in December, I was. It was I always got along with him, anyways, and I didn't know just how much he adored me as his niece until the funeral because I go there and we were close anyways without this, but I get down there and find out that that he bragged about me and my artwork and photos to everyone, that his prized possession was my eagle photo I gave him and stuff, and that it was such a thing to him to have my artwork and talk about me to people that they actually took the eagle I gave him that I took the photo of and actually worked it into the cake for the reception and actually had a speech about the eagle and his connection to me in part of the wake the night before. And so,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it was one of those moments where, you just it hits you, and it didn't feel real finding out anyways that
I mean,
he died, but it was also just the pain of it. And sorry if I upset him. I don't know what he just disappeared.
oh, jeez, here we go. Apparently, Lizzo got cast as Ursula in The Little Mermaid. Another freaking race swap. So, yeah. Junebug. We lost Junebug. His device not connected.
I was hoping it's something I said that he just crashed back and can get back in.
Yeah, well, he'll be back. But yeah, folks.
Ornery, you're a nag.
Also, another reason why I am desensitized very much to death. If I lose a pet or something, I will not be as affected as, say, Rosetta or somebody else. Because I've been so desensitized to death. My first funeral was 6 years old.
5.
Or 4 or 6.
I was 5. It was my aunt.
Mine was my great-grandfather. I didn't understand why he wasn't talking back when I was talking to him in the casket, trying to get him to wake up. And then they explained he's dead. And I'm like, what does that mean? He can't talk with you anymore. I started crying, and then I got all the adults crying. And then my grandfather at the time, who is also gone, but never forgotten. And Junebug is back. But yeah, when my grandfather...
Phone call.
That bear skin.
No
needing bear skin, cat. Okay, you need to lay down and be calmer.
So my grandfather, shortly after my great-grandfather's funeral, he decided to lay down on the couch. And he put his hands on his chest. Kind of like my great-grandfather did when he was in the casket. Or how they laid my grandfather or great-grandfather in the casket. I went over and scared the hell out of my grandfather, like, wake up, wake up, wake up. And he's obviously upset. Well, my aunt, the one who is currently struggling for her life, she's like, Dad, your glasses were off, your hands were on your chest, and you were sleeping on the couch. Who did he just lose that had that very same pose? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, and I still remember that. I still remember that. Being scared that my grandfather had passed away. And then I remember seeing him in the casket back in 2000. And believe me, when my grandfather passed away, if you said the wrong thing to me, if you mocked my grandfather's passing in any shape, way, or form, well, let's just say I would pick you up, threaten your life, and then drop you in a puddle of your own piss.
By the way, please understand the laughing is involuntary at the cat's behavior. I really am feeling sorry for what you're going through.
No. I fully understand that, right? Or Rosetta.
Ornery, for fuck's sakes, calm down, cat.
And my condolences to you, Riot. And also, if I say to a person a friend or whatever, about or if they have somebody who passes, I will simply say my condolences. It is not that I am not going to speak of the dead. It's the fact that, well, I didn't know them. I didn't know them in life. So I cannot really speak about them or their life. So I will, if I don't know the person, I will simply say my condolences. That's all I can really say. Because if I try to say something about somebody I didn't know, well, then that is very disingenuous.
It is.
I watched her leave this world in a hospital bed. 3 months later, the family dog and had to be put. Yeah, believe me, the dog that I grew up with, the dog that literally came from Germany to the U.S. with me, her name was Anka. I loved that dog. And for 13 years, I grew up with that dog. When one day I came home, she had already gone deaf. She was starting to go blind. My dad told me she had ran away. He did not tell me the truth, however, that she got put down. Because
I'm not a fan of telling the kids the false stories with that stuff. But I mean, pets give you an attachment to them, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my hand.
I mean, believe me. Then I lost my great-grandmother, I believe, like a few years later. Then my great uncle Pat. Then I lost my grandfather, or no, I lost my grandfather on my mom's side. Well, step grandfather. Then I lost my grandmother less than 6 months later. She died of a broken heart. And then I lost my grandfather, the one that I was closer to, on my dad's side. He got the full military service, the 21 gun salute, the folded flag, all of that. And believe me, that
So did
funeral
my grandfather.
was the one where where I got a solid reality check. I had seen for the first time my father break down and cry because he was handed that flag. Now, they usually give the flag to the oldest of the family. However, my Uncle Pat was the oldest. He could not accept the flag for personal reasons. Mainly because it was too emotional for him. It was too emotional for any of them to really accept the flag. But when my dad did, though, even the freaking soldiers that were there, the military personnel who were handling the flag, folding it and all, they were also crying.
Yeah. So before I go, because I am going to have to go soon, because talk about the deaths and the losses and talk about the military, I'm going to go back to when we first started hanging out on streams back when my grandfather passed. Because my grandfather was 90 when he passed a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago now. And there were several things that were massive about this. One was that we went through and did some calculations and figured some stuff out because literally in those 90 years, he had served in some capacity up until the last few months.
Yeah.
Between his service, his early admittance to get trained to serve overseas when he was 17, to get serving in the wars and stuff when he was 18, to Army nation building, working as a drill sergeant, other stuff. He served in some capacity. Even after they forced him to retire because he was too old to be in the military in any form anymore, he worked for Veterans Affairs for a long time after that. He built dams for the country. When he was forced out of Veterans Affairs because he was too old, he worked volunteer for Veterans Affairs. He worked in the military over 70 years in some form or another. And when we had his funeral, it was not just that the church was completely full, standing room. As there were cars in this little lined up all around outside waiting. Down the street, all the way out of the city, down to the gas station a few miles away, they were just lined up out of their cars saluting as we took him down to bury him. And they did the full 21 gun salute. They did all that stuff. They did, and yeah, shaking hands and crying from military personnel who knew him, who were helping do this. And I still have one of the casings from the 21 gun salute in my purse that I keep on me at all times, because it was given to me by the military personnel because I was one of the people that was listed as important to him in this. So this was
put those in the flag.
This was specific. He had actually requested that certain parts of it go to certain people beyond just that. I mean, this was really, he had talked to them about this. This was important to him. And one of the ones that had to have part of it, according to his orders, was me.
Mm-hmm.
So even though by the line of descent where they're supposed to go by, I was not even listed because I'm so far down. I'm from one of his youngest children, and I'm the youngest of his. He had to make sure I had one of them.
Hey, Comic Chat. Good to see you, Danny.
I've never seen so many people come together to salute and honor as I had seen leaving that funeral and taking him to the burial site where Grandma was in a neighboring town about 20 miles away. Most of the road for the first about 7 miles out of town was full of cars of people saluting him as we took him through.
Yeah. You know, when my aunt passed away,
I gotta go.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Thank you for stopping in, Riot.
Have a good day.
Eagle, rather.
I know what you mean. Bye. Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you too.
You too. To say, when my aunt passed away, she was even the pastor said, every time somebody dies, me and my wife always sit, oh, they were so great, but ... Even the pastor said we could not say that with my aunt. She was so wonderful. I mean, and when I'm describing her to people, like, the only way I can think to describe her is like a living angel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, to the point where I've, no, if I ever meet that special girl, hopefully, with my girl, if we are blessed with our first daughter, I've told her before that I have to name my first daughter after her. So.
Yeah. We've all handled loss in so many different ways. Now, trying to get to a much more upbeat conversation because
somebody told a joke or something on the stream or something.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, we gotta kind of.
I just farted
this up. No, better out than in.
Yep.
At least now I am starting to see my cousins again and my mom's side. They're trying, and that's all I can ask for. Exactly. If only my aunt's funeral went the same way. After that, my mom's family refused to speak to each other for a while because of their parent. Yeah. Just but a flesh wound of the heart. Exactly. But yes. Honestly, one thing I will always do. Have you ever seen The Rocketeer? Yes, that is actually a very good movie.
Yes, I love The Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer is a freaking brilliant movie. Campbell is, I think it was Campbell. Billy Campbell.
Hash Brown, bring back Michael Eisner for Disney.
Yeah. I mean, that movie was just, it's like, it was out of left field because you honestly didn't know what to expect with it. It's like, we should make another movie, but nobody ever wanted to make another movie. Well, now they do want to make another movie, and it's like, really? The rocket was destroyed. I mean, if you want to crash, if you want to crash the next rocket into the Hollywood side, I have no problem. Just crash it into Holly, and then they could just have the signs read wood.
I love The Rocketeer. That's definitely one of my favorites.
I mean, that big old freaking Nazi brute is like, oh shit, that dude got crisped.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean,
by the way,
yeah. Couldn't they find the plans and rebuild the rocket?
That nobody in the chat has seen
maybe.
it. I haven't seen it, but the Rocketeer that they made a few years ago.
Oh my god, they made another one, but it was woke?
Yes, they made a Disney Junior sequel.
Oh, Jesus.
With a young black girl who, by the way, Billy Campbell returns. I mean, hey, at least he's getting paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Billy Campbell returned as the Rocketeer to mentor a young black girl to play the new Rocketeer. Well,
here's the thing. When did it take place?
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Because if this Rocketeer girl, he would have been, or if he was an older chap, the movie took place, I believe, in the 20s or 30s. It's like, this better be in like the late 60s or 70s, because if he's mentoring a black girl, and a black girl was the new superheroine and whatnot, well, there'd be a lot of controversy there in the historical record.
I want to say the Rocketeer took place in 37, 38, something like that. So yeah, I don't know when it exactly takes place. I want to say, I'm pretty sure like it takes place in like because I haven't seen it, but based on the trailers that I've seen, it looks like it takes place in modern times. So like you have to wonder.
Yeah, 38. Honestly, if our movie or shows that were canceled after 2 seasons left on a cliffhanger, how about the show Surface? A lot of people have never even heard of that show. It's like, but it should come back. But they didn't bring it back. It's like, you suck. But yeah, honestly, there's a lot of shows that did only 2 seasons. I'm waiting for fucking Demon Slayer 2 or season 2 to come out on Netflix and wondering what the hell's taking them so long. Everybody else is watching Demon Slayer season 2, and I'm like, where the fuck are you watching it from?
Hey, it's okay. I mean, I had to wait an entire year for the last season of Ash versus Evil Dead for it to come out on Netflix.
Yeah.
To the point where I even called Netflix headquarters and asking them when is it coming.
I'm getting ready to freaking call Netflix and say, hey, Demon Slayer season 2, when? Because motherfucker, I need my fix.
And why?
I mean, I would love to watch the old school freaking Dragon Ball Z shows again, because I absolutely loved Dragon Ball Z growing up, and Dragon Ball and all them from freaking Funimation. I do not want to watch the new shit nowadays because of, well, honestly, I haven't watched the Dragon Ball anime in years because of the whole Kick Vic thing. And when you realize that these voice actors are just truly fucking terrible people. But you still, or I can always go to the original dub and be like, well, there you go. The same voice actor for Goku, what's her name, is also Gohan. It's like, hey, nothing wrong with that. So, have you ever watched any of the Dragon Ball animes, June?
I've seen bits and pieces, but the thing is, like, I was never allowed to as a kid because my dad didn't like Dragon Ball. So,
well,
like,
Dragon Ball was not for kids, to be 100% honest. I mean, fucking Bulma was taking off her clothes almost every other episode.
I watched on Toonami.
Yeah,
very few scenes, but like, so for me, like, I was never allowed to watch it, so like it kind of skipped me by, you know. Like, not to say I was a goody kid, but you know, like, oh, rebellion, I'm not gonna. My dad was always home when it was on, so you know, I couldn't
stand Kai. Kai was an abridged version. I could not stand Kai.
So
I liked the filler episodes because they were just ridiculous in some ways. But
I'm actually slowly getting into anime. A lot of people have told me I should get into it. I just recently watched the original Ghost in the Shell.
Certainly not for kids. Yeah.
I really liked that.
I mean, Dragon Ball Z Kai, do they actually show Krillin getting ripped apart or in the Namek Saga? Do they actually show fucking Frieza ripping off Nail's arm? Do they show all that? Because if they do, awesome. If they don't, well, I'm sorry, but I would prefer the freaking original where they show the blood and whatnot. I mean, when you see BoJack Unbound, I did not like the OG dub. Kai's better in my opinion. Well, the reason why I like the OG dub for the Funimation dub for Dragon Ball Z, during the Frieza saga when they summon Purunga, the Namek saga, you have Dende like talking about how Purunga translates into God of Love, and then they find out they get 3 wishes, and he's like, "Hey, come on, guys, don't piss off the God of Love," and I'm like, "Dude, awesome." Sounds like the soundtracks Ghost in the Shell and Akira are a couple of my favorites. I did not ever get into the old school animes like Ghost in the Shell, Akira, and whatnot. Me, Dragon Ball Z, or Yu Yu Hakusho, mostly the Toonami stuff were my shit, or were the shit for me, man. Yu Yu Hakusho, I absolutely love. If I can actually get my hands on the frickin', you know what? I'm actually gonna look on Voodoo and see if I can actually get that shit. Because Yu 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 Hakusho is just something that I absolutely loved as a teenager in my 20s. And it's like, I want every fucking episode of that damn show. So I'm actually going to look for it to see if I can actually find it.
I mean, heck, I never even really grew up with, the Studio Ghibli films as a kid. So,
well, they got a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh shit all over it, but it's like, I don't care about that. Man, now I got to look for it somewhere else. Go ahead with what you were saying there, Jim.
Yeah, I was going to say, I never really even grew up with the Studio Ghibli films or anything like that as a kid, or really any of the Japan animations or anything as a kid. Like the closest I ever grew up with was Nintendo, as far as animation for a kid.
It's all a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Ugh.
So, I recently got into a lot of the animes. Like I really did like. I'm really liking the Ghost in the Shell series. And like I'm like, wow. I like the Matrix, not the new one, but this is. I got kind of my Matrix kick after watching Ghost in the Shell because they borrowed a lot. Dragon Ball, if I could find a streaming service that has it right now, I would probably I might start watching, go from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff.
Believe me, I liked the original Yu-Gi-Oh. I did. Then they got into 5Ds and it just fucking went weird. I'm a person that doesn't like too much change when it comes to something that I like. 5Ds changed it too much. Or also the one that took place after Yu-Gi-Oh! With fucking Duel Academy where it's in the future and he's now an adult and whatnot. It's like, I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, one that my brother really liked, one of those shows that did not last too long. He liked Chaotic. Sort of one of those Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon ripoff shows,
Yeah. I'm waiting for the Fantastic Four duology to get on sale because I want to get those when they go on sale. I actually like the Ian Grufford and Alba Fantastic Four movies, including Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yes, they really screwed the pooch with Galactus by making him a fucking storm, but it's like, honestly, I still thought it was good. I mean, you have the freaking Silver Surfer just grab Johnny by the throat and just fly him up to space until he flames out, and he's like, okay, you went, yep, now shut up and get out of here. Space Gas. I'm old. My first anime was Space Battleship Yamato, aka Star Blazers. Interesting. But yeah. Well, if 5Ds broke you, 7 will break you into pieces, Orange. I won't watch them. Honestly, I didn't see any use to watching them afterward. As for me, I stuck with Yu Yu Hakusho and the Dragon Ball mangas. I do like Super to a degree. I liked it all the way up to Broly. And then I haven't seen anything really beyond that, to be 100% honest. Have you ever heard of The Hobbit M4's book edit? No, I have not. And it's a great fan edit of the Hobbit trilogy that turns into a reasonably faithful 4-hour adaptation of the book. Okay. I would have to check it out. But actually, right now, we've been going for almost 2 hours, so I am actually going to start wrapping it up. And I do want to thank everybody who came in. Hardwick, Riot, Kamen Rider, Riot, Did I say you twice, Riot? Yes, I did. Jesse's Girl, Comic Chat, Danny CJH, Captain Trek, Deej Odyssey, Junebug yourself, and many others. Vanja, Jeff B. Thank you all for coming in. Lasso of Truth, Sherry. You all are freaking awesome and amazing people. And I do want to thank you all so much for supporting my channel, Kamen Rider, as well. Because without you guys, I would have given this up a long time ago. I would have not seen much use in keeping it going. And actually, I did like those Fantastic Four movies in the early 2000s, despite Galactus being space gas. Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, thank you all so much. Junebug, thank you for coming on.
No
and
problem.
Thank you to Rosetta for coming on. And thank you for Deej for coming on to do that small little thing there. Folks, just pray for the people of the Ukraine and pray for the people of Taiwan as well, because China is getting frisky with Taiwan right now. And is there a place I can contact you? If so, I can show you where to get the Hobbit edit. Yeah, if you have Twitter. I am not on Instagram. My account on Instagram is hacked. If you ever receive a message on Instagram from my account, Orange Hat Reviews, do not trust it. I cannot stress that enough. I have been freaking talking about that for 10 days, and I am eventually now getting sick and tired of talking about it. So yes, my account has been hacked. You all have been warned. Just do not trust my account if it contacts you. I am on Twitter, Facebook, Minds, and Getter. That's it. And if I get kicked off of Twitter again, I am not coming back to Twitter. Well, I might come back to Twitter. But yes, thank you so much for everybody coming in. Have a good night, folks. Riot Kitty, Jesse's Girl, and everybody, thank you all so much for stepping in. And stay tuned. And if you guys want to help spread the word of my channel, get my watch time up again a little bit more, I would greatly appreciate it. Sub to everybody who was in the chat and anybody who came on. We rise together, folks. And we do need to keep that going. Anyway, this has been Orange Hat Reviews and Guests. Have a wonderful night, and always remember